I think part of what makes NewJeans' concept so enticing is the subtle, well, I say subtle, but at the same time very obvious commentary on idol culture in general. Ditto works as a kind of capstone for this meta-narrative about NewJeans in a lot of ways, which is weird because it came so soon in their career. This is their first comeback after the insane debut project that brought them multiple global hits. It's always been really striking that 5 months after debuting, NewJeans is already presenting us with a narrative about a time in the future when all of their fans have grown up and left them behind. Heesoo, the designated main character of this story, is supposed to represent NewJeans fans. Heesoo is a homophone for the fandom name Bunnies. Heesoo, Bunnies, yeah. Ditto is supercharged with so many emotions coming from different aspects of what brings the song together and how it came to be. The story of the music video revolves around loneliness and isolation while in adolescence. The moment the main character of the story, Heesoo, has to reconcile with the fact that NewJeans and the relationship she had with them only existed in her imagination. Heesoo coming to realize that NewJeans were only there with her on the camera screen is representative of the relationships that people have with K-pop idols. We don't really know them in real life, even if sometimes it feels that way, due to how much time we spend with them and how much of their identity feels like it represents who we are in a lot of ways. Once that camera turns off, NewJeans was never there, despite the very close bond Heesoo had with him. She comes to realize this in the first music video of Ditto, and the second video sees Heesoo growing up and moving on in her life, coming to terms with the end of this relationship that she has with her idols. The narrative of Ditto illustrates the moment a fan starts to grow up, when the responsibilities of the real world put a strain on the relationship a fan has with their idol. That strain, the moments of real life happening before her, is what ultimately causes Heesoo to wake up, to put the camera down and realize that she hasn't actually had friends around her this whole time. She's been alone. That is what seems to be the generally accepted idea behind the videos, but I think there's another significant aspect to this story that involves NewJeans themselves in great retrospect. I think NewJeans are not just side characters in Heesoo's story, but the story of NewJeans and Heesoo are two sides of the same coin that discuss this concept of loneliness and isolation while in youth. At the core of this story, we find NewJeans as imaginary characters in Heesoo's world, but from the perspective of us as listeners and viewers, the story in itself from our perspective as the audience, like the song we listen to on Spotify and the video that we watch on YouTube, is provided to us by NewJeans as an idol group in the K-pop industry. They bring us this incredibly profound and introspective song about moving on from adolescence in the period of their own adolescence. This was a huge point of contention at their debut and really has been ever since then, the fact that NewJeans was so young when they debuted. NewJeans are there with Heesoo because they are her imaginary friends, but looking at this story from the outside as listeners and viewers, they're also not there with Heesoo because they are NewJeans. The period of adolescence that is being portrayed in this music video is something that NewJeans are going to have to miss out on because the idol industry has taken that away from them. So in more ways than one, and perhaps symbolically, Heesoo and the rest of the school don't see the members of NewJeans because they're really not there. They've already left that life behind for something else. This adds quite a profound dimension to the story when considering it from the perspective of the imaginary friends and why they're imaginary in the first place. I won't get into the controversies of Adore, which is the company behind NewJeans, but I do think this is something that Adore as a creative team wants you to eventually have to recognize, even beyond Ditto as a part of NewJeans' concept. The fact that this group can sing these songs and present these stories about childhood in retrospect when none of them are adults yet is in itself a paradox, and you have to subconsciously understand that there is somebody or something else behind this narrative, a whole industry behind NewJeans, that allows them to be able to do this and present these stories. There are two moments where Heesoo recognizes the reality of her adolescence, represented symbolically by a fawn looking at her. The first encounter with the fawn is just before she has to admit that NewJeans aren't real, and the other is when she finally accepts to let them go as she realizes she is growing up. Heesoo gets to move on, but NewJeans in a lot of ways are always going to remain as imaginary characters in that school. NewJeans will always be stuck in the moments of Heesoo's childhood. This is the profound commentary on the idol industry that I think Ditto works to outline in a lot of ways, among many other narrative points throughout this story. The lyrical content of the song itself can be sung from this perspective, from the perspective of the idol who is stuck on videotapes in an individual's childhood in all perpetuity. The fan eventually grows up and or moves on, but an idol in a lot of ways does not. Ditto to me is entirely representative of why NewJeans is so successful. The minimalism of the production and lyrical content are almost perfectly contrasted by the expansive storytelling of the music videos. There are so many avenues in which you could take this story, which is what I think makes it so special. We also have Heesoo's YouTube channel, which again takes this story into the real world to outline that there are very real aspects to this narrative about adolescence. Heesoo uploads behind the scenes footage of the events of Ditto at the end of 1998 and moving into 1999. There's a lot of story material to be pulled from these short videos, but the last video posted from this period is her using the camera to focus on what we know is actually in the real world. It's this boy that she's been interested in who is partially responsible for waking her up to real life in the first place. The second to last video on Heesoo's channel is posted in 2023, which is a behind the scenes choreography video of the members dancing to OMG from the Ditto music video. The description of the video reads, "Sorry I'm late." 24 years later in this narrative, and despite destroying the camera and moving on, destroying the connection that Heesoo had to NewJeans, this video is uploaded by Heesoo as an adult to represent that she still kept the footage that was downloaded on the cassette tapes. She still kept those memories with her throughout adulthood and decides to post the video in the current day after going through the tapes in her attic. Despite growing up and losing the childlike fixation and obsession she had with her idols, they're still close to her heart in memory of her childhood. She may have moved on to become an adult and to focus on the real world, but that doesn't mean NewJeans won't always be a part of who she is. Ditto truly represents the best of pop music in my opinion, and it has become something so revolutionary in the K-pop industry, especially for this, again, being the group's first comeback. The laid-back vibe of the song was a risk in K-pop itself, let alone this complicated storytelling, but it definitely paid off. The song doesn't require itself to be dissected. Commercially, the song can just be a melancholy yet sentimental song about missing someone and hoping they miss you as well, but in the context of this story that's presented, there is so much depth to that very simple sentiment. I even think there is a value in this song not being tied to any album. It's its own moment in NewJeans' story, so brief yet has quite arguably some of the most conceptual depth to a musical project that K-pop has ever seen. As a fan of K-pop, listening to this song with the story of moving on in mind, it makes me feel so sad. This K-pop thing for me definitely feels like it's going to be a thing forever, but I do wonder if there's going to be a moment where I don't find it as interesting or engaging anymore and I do decide to move on. It's a sad thing to think about, but that's what this song is. It's the antithesis of K-pop in a lot of ways. I mean, it presents a painful and heartbreaking story of a young girl who grows up and leaves her favorite idol group along with her adolescence, but that idol group is still always there. They're always the same in her memories. It's a very weird paradox to consider. NewJeans as idols sacrifice their adolescence, yet also exist in that period that they missed out on forever. From NewJeans' point of view in this story, they sing as if they know their fans are eventually going to have to move on from them as their first comeback. Like, again, it is Adore's intentional self-insertion to this story that adds such a scary and off-putting but also intriguing dimension to all of this, especially Heesoo and the events of Ditto happening before the members of NewJeans were actually born. Like, they subtly reference the reality of the K-pop industry, for better or for worse, as a part of this whole concept. But yeah, I could go on and on about this, but I think I've said enough. There's already so much praise for this song, I just wanted to contribute to it as well. Definitely let me know what you think about Ditto. If you watched this video, any theories you have. Thank you for watching this if you did. Subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time.